Hello, everyone. It's the handicap on a Thursday night, and it's me, Chris Rowe, standing in for Brenty today. I'm not sure where he is, but I'm here for him, and I'm here with a few of our esteemed guests, which you know very well. So we'll go through this weekend's rugby fixtures. Let's introduce. I know we know everyone knows who we are, I think. But Admiral, nice to meet you. It's the first time, obviously, we sharing the screen on the show. So how you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Thanks for having me on, Chris. Yeah, this should be a good weekend of rugby. We're off the back into the domestic stuff now, so the bread and butter. Jay, looking forward to it. I always like a good URC round because it feels like we never get more than two in a row, and then it's internationals or Europe time again.
Yeah, exactly. But I've enjoyed the European. I don't know how it you guys feel. It's not this. It doesn't feel like the old Heineken Cup, which even I loved. I love those brutal home and away fixtures in the mud, which we don't get anymore. But yeah, it's good to get the URC back. And Nathan, how you doing? How are you over there in New Zealand?
Good. Yeah, just had to set an alarm this morning. It's Easter Friday here, so
Yeah,
no work, which is a good thing. But yeah, had to roll out of bed to make it here at 7 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, no, nice to see you, man. And then hi to everyone on the live chat, of course. I'm going to try obviously get you guys involved. I'm obviously not as slick as old Brent is, but I'm definitely going to try get your comments in and obviously comment on our thoughts and our predictions. And obviously, if you be backing what we're saying or have a contrarian view to us, go for it. That's what we're here for, to help each other put our winning bets on for the weekend. But let's get straight into it. Let's get into Super Rugby. Cracking first game up, isn't it? Crusaders Blues. Yeah, as I mean, both come in, both had some very interesting performances leading up to this game. Obviously, as you guys know, the Super Rugby's been wide open, but they're both on back-to-back victories. I wouldn't say they've been convincing, but Admiral, start with you. We've got a line of the 6.5. Probably say that's about right. Either points right of that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously they played each other 3 weeks ago, and the Crusaders did a number on them. They won by 20, 25 points in the end. And that was in Auckland. So that would, just in the face value, that would make you think surely this -6 value here. But I mean, the players the Blues are missing that day, like it was Riccatelli, Patrick Tupolatu, Segner, Christie, Bowden Barrett. Don't think AJ Lamb was in there. Zarn Sullivan is back for the first time this year, and they'd even Kurt Eklund was missing off the bench. They were pretty much missing half a starting team. And since then, what they've played the Hurricanes, they've played Moana. They're looking better. I think they're getting the last two performances. They're sort of beginning to look a bit more like the team they were last year. So that being said, I think 6 is quite big. The Crusaders are a great team, but 6 is just a little bit big for New Zealand derby like this. I think as teams, I think that they're pretty. If it was a neutral field game, I think it'd be close to a pick 'em, maybe with the Crusaders slight favourites. And that points line as well. I mean, it seems like there's going to be a little bit of rain. It looks like it's sort of stopping around kickoff. So maybe it's a mix of the rain and the fact that the Blues are sort of a low-scoring team that's bringing that line down. So I'm going to leave the points and stick to a Blues 6 plus 6.5.
Yeah, that's a fair shot. I'm leaning towards that as well. Nathan, what do you think? I also think that points on, as you know me, as my overs hat on, that feels low as well. But you're right, the Blues have burned me many times on a number as well, so I'll stay away as well, not knowing what the weather conditions are. But Nathan, what are you thinking? What are your numbers telling us?
That points line's actually gone down a point at Bet365, so it's 53.5. When I came into this week, it was looking like it was going to be rain was going to be a factor across all of the New Zealand games. I think that has kind of dissipated now. Doesn't look like it's going to be a factor. It's been pretty terrible weather here, certainly in Auckland over the last couple of days. It's like borderline cyclone. I was staring out the window at it yesterday, thinking how windy it was, and literally watched my fence blow over. So that probably gives you an indication of how windy it's been. But it looks like the rain's going to be gone. I think for this game. So I'm actually starting to lean back towards a possible overs play at 52.5. My numbers are at 54, which is close enough. In terms of the handicap, this is one I'm actually on the Crusaders at 5.5. It's not a play that I necessarily love. It's like purely a model play, really. Like my model's telling me Crusaders by 10, which sounds big, but really, need to be directionally right. The Crusaders has actually been the team that have probably been the most wrong on. I think they've been quite high variance, like in terms of the consistency of their performances, but the Blues have been consistent in that every time I've backed them, or not necessarily when I backed them, but my model sort of indicates that it's potentially like has the Blues slightly overrated, which gives me kind of confidence in the other side. So I've kind of, what I'm looking for generally is have I backed or faded both teams at some points in the season, which sort of tells me that I don't have a systematic bias, either for or against somebody. And I've done that with both of these teams. I was on the Blues last week against Moana. I was actually on the Hurricanes last week and was wrong about that against the Crusaders. So it's, for me, there's kind of enough there to, as I say, it's purely kind of a system play on the Crusaders.
Yeah, I would agree. I think also the Admiral, like in the years gone by, this number is a bit higher. You would definitely feel a bit high for this game, right? This derby, but the way that's been going, the way the form lines have been going, it's a bit harder to have that sticking out now as it could have been previously. And I agree with that. Say I'm leaning more on the plus here, and I'm leaning obviously more on the overs, but it's not shouting at me. It's not a standout at the moment, but it's going to be a cracking game anyway, nonetheless, right?
I think the only other thing I'd say just in terms of selections is probably just around the front rows, props in particular. You've got a potential debutant coming off the bench for the Blues. I think it's actually Paddy T's brother, who I'd never heard of before. So hopefully he's actually good and just picked because he's the captain's brother. But then, you're sort of contrasting that with George Bauer, an All Black. And obviously far more experience on the Crusaders side of the ledger when it comes to the front rows. So yeah, that's probably an area that I think they would want to target as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We've seen this before when unknown quantities come off the bench and it's a one-score game, and you just don't know whether that prop's going to dominate or is going to be dominated, and there's the game right there, right? So that is definitely something that I think punters should factor in, because we've definitely seen this before when that can change the outcome in the last 15 minutes. But just a quick one, guys. Everyone on the stage, I see Blake Clever's in, Peter Paul, local guy, Fareed. How's it, Fareed? How you doing? And there's Brent. Brent's popped in as he said he might, so give him a hard time. Welcome to the comments there, Brent. But let's move on to the next game. We got the Drua versus the Tars. Again, sure, very interesting game because, Drua at home, you always fancy them at home, and they've had some super performances. Obviously, I think they've got one victory, haven't they? And that was the Chiefs, super impressive. But since then, haven't actually got a victory under their belt. And the Tars are there, pottering away in the top 6, still going. So yeah, Nathan, what do you reckon? Yes, that 6.5. That feels pretty high, but yeah, I would like to get your thoughts there.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably going to be a little bit contrarian this week. I think a lot of the money and the sentiment would be on the Drua, because this is, like, in theory, kind of a must-win game in a spot where you typically expect them to kind of bounce back. But I think we've been waiting for that bounce back for weeks now, and it hasn't happened. The line sort of moved from 4.5 to 6.5. I think I'm going to wait. Like, if I could get a 7.5, I think I'd be all over the Waratahs. But I'm still kind of leaning towards them here anyway. As I said, I just think it's I'm probably zigging while everyone else is zagging, and that's not necessarily a bad spot to be in a lot of the time. So the Waratahs, yes, they've rested a few, but they've still that back line is still pretty dangerous. And so I just, as I said, my numbers kind of favour the Waratahs here in the spot. It wasn't before teams were selected, but coming out afterwards, I feel like this is probably a decent spot for the Waratahs, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be just me watching these games. I feel that Australian teams somehow maybe do better over there than New Zealand teams. I might be wrong. That just might be just something that's made up in my head. But I just feel that the Drua get themselves up for the New Zealanders a bit more. Admiral, what you got here? What you thinking here?
Yeah, I am on the -4, which was because of the teams. It was they're missing Angus Bell, Parecki, Tupou, and Gleeson, who I think you could argue maybe their four most important forwards. There's a fifth one, but we said his name last week and we got in trouble apparently for that. His name's Charlie. I would say.
He's back, by the way.
Yeah. So Charlie is back.
It's like Voldemort or something now.
Yeah,
you can't say his name.
But apart from him, so it's those four guys who are four really solid players. It's in Otaka, isn't it? I actually forgot to check that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think Suva and Lotaka make a big difference for the Drua. Like it's an advantage playing in Suva, but I mean Lotaka is one of the worst places to go play rugby in the world if you're not a Fijian boy. So yeah, I am on the -4. Would I take -6? I don't know. It is a team who won one game. Like it's a 1-7 team against a 5-3 team, which I think it'd be a tough sell to take -6 there. The weather, I mean, it says it's going to rain. I don't know if it's going to rain or not.
It always says rain, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think for me,
tell you that.
Yeah, for me and you, Chris, living in GMT, are pretty much the game's at 3:00 in the morning. I won't be watching it. I think if you live in New Zealand or in America, or if you're an insomniac, you can have a look at the broadcast and see what the weather's going to be like. But I wouldn't touch the points unless you're watching it. So if I had to pick, I would take the -6, but it wouldn't be a strong pick.
No, that would be too scary for me. Would never be seeing my money. If it was the Waratahs of last year, possibly, but this year's Waratahs team showing a bit more. 56. Sorry.
The one thing I would add is I did see this with someone else, so I'm going to steal it. But the Waratahs are a bit like the Drua almost this year, especially the Drua last year. That they are. I mean, I called them a crap team last week or something, and then they beat the Chiefs. They are like at home. Their record is pretty impressive, and then away it is dreadful. Like they've hosed by the Hurricanes, hosed by Moana, and there's another loss in there somewhere. I forget who it's against. So I'd like maybe it's not as pronounced as the Drua's sort of Jekyll and Hyde performances away home and away, but there is a trend beginning to pick up there of how good the Waratahs are at home, and then when they go away, they don't seem to travel well at all.
Yeah, fair points.
I was going to say just the irony of a streaming show that's about sports betting, and yet we can't say Charlie G's name. Like, how does that work? Can someone explain that to me? This whole show is about that topic. Why are they blocking that? I don't understand it. But like I will be logging into checking out the coverage to see what's happening weather-wise, because I actually do think this is the possibility of an overs game.
I agree.
I don't really like too much to look back at previous games and a sample size of one, which is kind of meaningless. But they played an absolute shootout here. I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was like 43-42 or something like that. And in my mind, I kind of potentially see it playing out that way. You've got a full strength backline basically from the Tars, Suali'i, who looks great, and obviously a slightly understrength forward pack, which I think just kind of lends itself potentially to this just kind of exploding into something, as long as the conditions kind of play ball.
Yeah, totally agree. This is my first strong punt. That feels a few points too short. I'll be calling this game over 60, so I like that number 56. I think this could, if the weather, just checking the conditions, if they're okay, but this could easily be a shootout and should be cracking 60 points in my opinion. So I agree with you there. Moving on, we're ready for the next game, Pasifika versus the Brumbies. Pasifika at home also obviously had some really decent performances, and obviously the Blues put them over last week. So reading into that, what do we say? Last man, we have 63 points. That also, I mean, it says like point that feels high, but again, these games we've seen, they could be 80, they could be 50. We don't know really all the time. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, I took the Brumbies at -4.5, which felt like a bit of a no-brainer once you saw that Ardie Savea wasn't there. But I think it goes a little bit beyond Ardie as well. Like I think William Havili is a big loss for them, or a big out for them at fullback. He's kind of one of those glue players in a team like that. There's a few others I think that they're kind of missing that I would prefer to see there if I was on Moana. So it felt like kind of a no-brainer to play the Brumbies in that spot. And I've also taken the under at 64.5. And as I said, I think the weather is going to play less of a factor, but I think it will still be windy. It's still crazy humid here at the moment. Because it's still sort of like low 20s. It'll be 23 degrees, and yeah, as I said, it's been kind of raining cats and dogs. So it may not be raining at the time, but that humidity will probably be up maybe close to 100%. So I just think it kind of lends itself potentially to an unders game here.
Yeah. Point taken. Admiral, what you got for us?
Yeah, I wasn't able. I missed the -4. I would have taken it, and I think there's still a -6 about, and I'm planning on taking that one. The point is interesting here because if this was a dry day, I think it's maybe the easiest overs bet of the weekend. Like Pacific average, I say nearly 80 points a game, and the Brumbies are pretty high scoring. Maybe not the level of Moana, but pretty high scoring. The one thing that's worrying me is the rain is going to stop, but this game is in Pukekohe. Is that how you say it?
That's right. Yeah.
Is the pitch is it a good pitch? Like, will it drain? It's sort of hard to know with these sort of smaller venues. Like, say if this was in Eden Park, you wouldn't worry about the rain having stopped 3 hours before. But that it's in a smaller pitch, will it be a bit soggy and will it cut up a little bit?
Possibly. It's definitely. This is the county's Manukau home ground, so it won't be as high quality. I mean, to be fair, they're all pretty good these days. They're still have a semi-professional rugby team on there, so I don't necessarily think that will be a huge factor. But I do think it'll be windy, it'll be humid, there'll be some dampness underfoot, and yeah, they're an interesting team without Artie because he's been good for 1 or 2 tries like every week. It's just like, and I do think with Havili not there to sort of direct them around, I just think they might struggle to get into some of the scoring positions that they've been in, because I think one of their strengths has actually just been getting into the 22, and they're just bringing in the big boys and just like knocking the door down. And I think they might struggle to do that, especially going into the wind.
I'd be on the -6. I didn't. There is Asavia playing, but it's maybe the wrong one. It's Julian's in an inside centre for the first time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing. He's
10 years ago, maybe, but
yeah.
Nowadays. And I mean, the Brumbies were brilliant. I was on the Reds. I think that was my biggest play of the week. And the Brumbies, they hockeyed them they won by 13, and if they won by 20, I don't think anyone could have complained. So they are sort of. They're looking like that the Brumbies that they have been for the last 10 years, the best coach, the best ran team in Australia. It's a full strength team, so I'd be on -6 here.
Yeah, and you can't I think like an RD survey, that there's such talismans for teams like these. I think they just make a big difference. A 10, 12 points, like even for a try, but just step in, making the guys step up a level. I think that's going to be a huge miss. And if Brumbies come focused and on points, Pasifika won't live with them. So I agree. I would lean definitely on the minus. The points one's a little bit scary, but I wouldn't be afraid of the minus here. Even I think the Brumbies are going to be too strong.
Actually, just a quick one, because I've been watching the weather forecast like a hawk, obviously, all week. The Pukekohe forecast actually is showing that there will possibly be rain right around kickoff. So
But you would still think that plays into Brumbies' hands, right? They'll get a good few more opportunities, and
I don't really think it influences the Brumbies points too much at all. But I do think it will probably influence Moana's.
Yeah, I agree.
And Fareed just saying Julian's form was great last year, but first game out could be mixed. Yeah, I totally agree. I do feel some players do need a run out to get back into their group. So without RD, I agree that I think that could be anything. This with Julian in the middle there. Right, let's go into the next game. We got Chiefs Highlanders. Sure, that's quite a high cap, mind you. I mean, I know the Chiefs. I'm sure we're all thinking the Chiefs were going to run away with this competition. They both looked the strongest. They did feel or look the strongest, but they've had some really dodgy performances as well of late. Highlanders also could be anything. But 14's a high handicap. 56 is probably well priced on the points here. Admiral, what do you think?
Yeah, like I was having a look through sort of both these teams' results. The Chiefs have covered in all their games, 8 games. They've covered this once, and it was against the Crusaders in week 2, their first home game. And the Highlanders have covered this every week, home or away. They haven't been great, but they're strong defensively. They don't play the highest tempo game. They don't really get hammered. They're not that bad of a team to take a beating. And I think we talk about bounce back spots quite a lot.
Yeah,
I think that sort of works if you're -3, maybe. If it's sort of like where bounce back is, the Chiefs don't care about the cap rate. The Chiefs care about winning the game. So I don't think bounce back really applies when it's sort of a double-digit cap. Like if the Chiefs win by 10, they'll be happy with that, and they'll. So yeah, I like the Chiefs are great. They are the best team in the tournament, but 14 is pretty high. They haven't shown form of covering 14, and their opponent hasn't shown form of not covering plus 14. So I'd be on the Highlanders here. I think that the Highlanders are full strength. They have Renton and Fakatava again, who made a difference last week. The Chiefs are pretty much full strength. Like they have Rattam on the bench. Who else?
Leonard Brown's back, but on the bench.
Takioho is on the bench. So they're 90-95% full. But 14 is too big for me. Plus 14 for me.
Nathan, I have a feeling your model is going to spit out Chiefs plus -17. Yeah, am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right. And the thing that's surprising me about this really was that, I mean, my expectation is that, the general public, they tend to remember what they've just seen, and they've seen the Chiefs lose and they've seen the Highlanders win. And I thought this line would move and finish it kind of, maybe close at -12.5 or something along those lines. That has not happened. Like last night, it moved out to 15.5 at Bet365. So people are seeing something else. I don't know whether that's a sharp play or not. It's kind of rare for me to bet against my model numbers, but I just don't feel this one. I kind of agree with pretty much all the things that you guys have said. So yeah, it could be a rare instance where I go the other way, or I might leave it alone. But the other thing is that if the conditions aren't great, underfoot, there's that naturally lends itself to not being able to cover either. Like it's just kind of a natural thing. So I actually think this is potentially an unders game as well, for some of those same reasons. So yeah, again, it's one of these ones where I kind of been waiting to see how things would go, and thinking that people would bet this. They'd bet the Highlanders and probably bet the over, and that I would swoop in. That hasn't happened so far. So yeah, at this stage, I've made no plays on this game, and it's still pretty open as to whether I will.
Yeah, I'm also agree with that. We'll say, but I'm quite big on spots, especially bounce back spots. And this for me feels like a Chiefs bounce back spot. This feels my heart is saying Chiefs can win this by 20. They're going to come out hard and play a good game. Finally have put it together after a while. But all the numbers and all the form and everything else is saying that number is too big, and I totally agree. So I'm on the fence. That's why I also can't put a solid punt the way I feel it's going to go. But if gun to head, I'm still going to lean on Chiefs having a big performance. But whether they cover that number, I don't know. All right, let's move on to the Force. Hurricanes, juicy, licking my lips for points for this one if there's nice weather in Perth. But we've got Force plus 1.5, which I think is pretty nice for them. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. I think Canes are a much better team than the Force, than 4 points. But interested to hear, Nathan, what do you think on this game? What you got?
I took the Hurricanes at -1.5, and I felt pretty good about that because it just feels like this. It's must win for them. It feels like a game that in past years I think they would have run relatively easily. This is not past years. The Force are better. But I think that the truth is that the Hurricanes, they are the better team, and I think at 1.5 they just need to win basically, and that's good enough for me. 4.5 is actually right where I have this line, so I have it at 4. So at the current number, would I get involved? If I was going to get involved at the current number, I think I would still take Hurricanes. As I said, I think there's probably that they'll be targeting. They've got a 2-week kind of road trip in Australia. I think this is the game that they'll be targeting. They have to win here, and I think there's, you're seeing. We talk every week about them getting guys back, but I think the starting lineup at least now is settled, except for the fact they put Love at 10, and they've got Billy Proctor back, coming off the bench, and he was instrumental for them last year. So I think the sooner they can get him back into the team, the better.
Yeah, I remember last time I was on the show, actually, Nathan, I was pretty confident. I can't remember who the Canes are playing, but I wasn't on the Canes, and you told me the band were back together quite confidently.
It was the Waratahs game.
That's it. Yeah, and I still followed my gut, my feeling there, and got absolutely hammered. But when the Canes are all together on form, I love them. I think they're top 2, top 3 side. I would love to see them go all the way. I know you're not a Canes supporter, but I would like to see them actually get a title under their belt. I do enjoy this team.
I actually don't hate the a futures bet on the Hurricanes to win it. I see that there's some talk of Brett Cameron is back training. Like, he could actually feature before the end of the season, and I think the reality is that's the weak spot for them right now, is the 10 jersey. So I think Love can probably only really be better than what. I mean, Riley Hope has not been terrible, but his goal kicking's not been great, obviously. So I think it's probably the only way is probably up in terms of Proctor back. Maybe Cameron back. They only need to win probably 2 games to win the title, really. So who knows? 13s or 15s, I think it's paying.
Yeah, I think that's a decent shot, to be honest. I think, I think they're not any. Don't feel like they're any much worse, or if you want to say better than the top 3 anyway, like we just said. And Admiral, like I say, also Force, like why I'm also liking this Force. I love a dry track in Perth, and the Force are contributing. They're scoring now. There were times when you would go, oh no, Force. You remember they put 15 points on and butcher every try possible. That's not the same Force team this way. That's why I'm a little bit more. I would be more at ease to play a Force points. But what are you thinking? Yeah, on the cap and the points.
Yeah, this is a weird game. I wasn't able to get. Normally I have my work sort of done on Sunday night for this, for the Monday mornings, and I was watching the golf, which I was tied into, and so I didn't have. So -1 was a great bet, but not one that I have. This is a weird cap. I mean, like if you said this at the start of the year, you would assume the Hurricanes that have a second team out or something. Like there's something wrong here, even though they're at home. I feel like I can make pretty good arguments for both teams. Like the Hurricanes haven't covered this cap away, and the Force have covered this cap at home every single time, I think. Ruben Love at 10, like he hasn't played at 10 or hasn't started at 10 Super Rugby since 2022. He played a bit of NPC there, but like not much at all. But as we said, it would be pretty hard to be worse than Riley O'Hepa. But the Force have had, I think they had the longest sort of run of consecutive games in the tournament, and the Force every time they go away have to travel, I mean, at least a 3 or 4 hour flight, so that they've had a week off. But that being said, like, just with your eyes, the Hurricanes are a much better team than the Force. And you can't. It's sort of hard to look past that. So it's not hard against head, but I feel like I can sort of make a lot of good arguments for the Force, and then when it comes down to it, the Hurricanes are better, aren't they? So with all that said, I'm probably not going to do anything. The points is interesting as well. It's a little bit colder. A lot of the Force games at home, just from watching them, they've been sort of earlier in the day. They've been afternoon games. Yeah. It's been scorching. I mean, I assume Perth is the hottest city, the hottest Super Rugby city there is. Like it's a sort of dry. It's in a desert almost. Like it feels like it's often 30 degrees. It's a little bit cooler this time. It's 20. So if this game was 2 hours early, I would be on the overs. I would probably lean overs, but not be hugely confident about it. So all that said, it's probably a no bet for me.
Yeah, I said this sort of along, like when we saw those massively high-scoring games, but that had in the beginning of the competition, right? But there were loads of games that were afternoon games. It was early on the season before the dew was coming. There was always going to be regression, and now we're starting to see that, right? So these high points lines are becoming a little bit more scary. Yeah, I don't know if I'm angry at the Force or the Highlanders, because the last time I put a decent bet on, I had over 52 and Highlanders +3 in one of the biggest bet builders I ever had, and I am still raging. I haven't recovered from that, to be honest. So stuff the Force, go the Canes, stuff them up, please. Yeah, but I agree. It's going to be, yeah. Well, anyway, guys, that brings us to the end of Super Rugby. Any other comments on there? Do you have anything of you?
Just one. Just on the outrights, I was having a look. I was having a look a minute before the show, just looking through some of the outrights and or the remaining fixtures. Just had a glance. I'm not sure the Hurricanes are going to make the playoffs. Like they have a tough enough running. I think they're outside the top six at the moment. And I don't have the fixtures at hand. They're over evens to make the playoffs. They're 2.5 to get in. If they get in,
the Hurricanes.
They're 2.5.
They're sitting there seventh. They are 4 points behind Force.
Yeah,
this is a big game, eh?
Yeah.
Yo.
So if they get in that 13 or whatever, I mean, it won't be there, but like that 13, I'm not fully convinced they'll be there. So it's like we were talking last week. We sort of were saying like the power rank, an American term, that the Chiefs are the best, and then you have the other three New Zealand teams, or the Highlanders, sort of the same. I think you have to sort of drop the Highlanders down to fourth. The Hurricanes down to fourth, and then you have Blues and Crusaders, probably 2-3 Crusaders Blues. But yeah, if I had to pick an outright, I think I'd still be on the Crusaders Blues. I'm not sure the Hurricanes are going to be there when it comes to playoff time.
Yeah, I think Brent also, when I was also last on the show, made a point that he still thought that Blues aren't the team of last year and can still sneak in the back door and make a run to the final. The value's there, but you're right. But this competition isn't. It's just the form is just not there, right? Most of the teams are just not showing that consistent form to have any kind of like solid, they're going to win it, right? Which is nice. It's great. I still believe the cream does rise to the top. I'm still a believer of that. Like I still think probably two of those New Zealand sides are going to still sneak in. And when I think we get to the playoffs, it's going to be open season, and I'm quite looking forward to that because I mean the Australian sides are holding on, but maybe it's the fixture list. You often see them fade, like the island teams fade, the Australian teams used to fade. But I think these new rules have suited the Australians, right? I think we've seen that foster play it seems to be helping them. Maybe there's a new lease of life with the coach and with the Australian side and the British and ours. I don't know, but the Australian teams have definitely stepped up since last season, which is great. So, yeah,
I think they are stronger just because they've got players that previously played for the Rebels, so they've been able to skip some of the best ones. I think that helps. I think the some of the fixture scheduling has helped them as well. They play the way it's set up is you don't play everybody twice, or there's an emphasis on what they call derby games. So the Australian teams have played more Australian teams, and I think they've played more Australian teams early in the season. And I think the scheduling that they've come up with makes sense. Like it's made for a better competition. But
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's been really good.
Yeah. All right, guys. That brings us to Super Rugby. Let's move on to the URC. First up, Edinburgh +2.5 for Sharks. I saw Brent made a comment. He's interested here about the Sharks. I've had a few of my punter friends that think, look, I'm not trusting the Sharks with anything. So that's my point. That's the end of my view on this. Sorry, I don't have more to give. But to be honest, guys, I haven't actually been able to do as much research as I normally have. I haven't had the time this week, so I'm obviously relying on your guys. What you may have seen, I know it's maybe not just as the strongest competition like Super Rugby is for me. But yeah, let's give it a go. Edinburgh +2.5. I don't know. I think I haven't seen team news, so if you can enlighten me as well. I don't know if the teams have been announced. They probably have. I haven't looked at it.
They have for this game, yeah.
So I imagine there's a strong Sharks team and a weak Edinburgh team. I can't think of anything else why this is capped this way.
You pretty much got it. You pretty much nailed it. Yeah. I wouldn't say it was a super weak Edinburgh team, but it's definitely the best team that the Sharks can put out, I would suggest.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean Jack.
It doesn't. I guess the only thing I'd say, and it's one of these things, looking at the table and seeing the Sharks sitting in fourth, it was kind of a bit of an eye opener, because I find that I stopped following the URC table through this period of a couple of months where there's internationals and then in European games, and to be honest, it feels like no one cares until they get out the other side of it. And now that they're out the other side of it, and you see the Sharks sitting in fourth, and you think, okay, well, there is motivation here for them to, get if they want to have any shot, they need to be playing at home basically, like as much as they can from here to the end of the season. So they've got a 2-game away stretch, and they're clearly, bringing out all the big guns for this game. Like if they're, it sounds crazy, but like, if they're ever going to win one of these, it's this game, and it has to be now, like really, otherwise, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I see Brent's still got the same sentiments as me. They've obviously, understandably, if it's a Sharks full strength side, I mean, they've won a European competition last season, and they are when the band's when the band's together and they're up for it, they're top 2, top 3 team, but can you trust them? Admiral, what are you thinking?
Yeah, this opened Edinburgh -5, and I think since then
that would have been right. Yeah.
I think it wasn't clear at the start of the week, but Fassi and Etzebeth, most importantly, are back. Like, so what? I'd almost say like who knows? I mean, Etzebeth is one of the best second rows we've ever seen, and
he's been out for a while as well, right?
December.
Yeah, exactly. And I still believe that's a long time for even a professional player to get about into their work.
I saw someone say on Twitter, this is the strongest Sharks team, just like a strongest starting team they've had under Plumtree. The keywords are under John Plumtree, because honestly, I don't know how he still has a job. I think it's 12 bucks in the starting team, and they're 2-point favorites against Edinburgh. I know it's in Scotland, but come on. I really hope this moves another 2 or 3 points towards the Sharks, and I'm going to take a small bet on the Edinburgh money line and just laugh my ass off if the Sharks do it again. So I don't have the numbers of this, but I was thinking of games where a lot of money has come for the Sharks, and they just don't cover. I mean, recently there was the Leinster game. There's been there was 2 in Wales, I think, last year where they had, I think, Scarlets and someone else. All the money came for the Sharks and they lost. So if the money keeps coming, I will back Edinburgh. I would have backed Edinburgh already, but they're missing Darcy Graham and Hamish Watson, who are both being rested, which I think is a bit weird.
And Van der Merwe.
Yeah, they have a pretty long injury list as well.
Yeah.
So if it moves, to be honest, if you don't like the Sharks like me, I think just take the money line and have a good time if they lose again. But no, I would have a serious bet on this game.
Yeah, Nathan, anything else? Anything?
No, I feel dirty even saying it, but I did take the Sharks on the money line
of course.
when it was plus money. But
on paper, it's right. It is the right bet, right?
I mean, it was playing plus money at the time, so that's it's fine. It is what it is. I think the mentally, one thing that's kind of worked to my advantage is that half that bet was referred to trailer and declined, and I was kind of like, that's all right. I don't mind that.
This is my classic. Sharks, but they can't trust them. I sit there with no bet. I sit there and they'll score try after try. Go, there it is. There we go. Yep. Keep scoring. Should have known. The Sharks was going to arrive.
Yeah, I mean, there's a spot to back or fade any team. There should be, like, if you're doing this in an unemotional way, which is what I try to do. Exactly, just watching. I'm just not one of these people who gets angry at players, refs. You put the bet on. You put the bet on. It's on you. It's your mistake, not theirs.
Exactly.
You had all the information that was available at the time that you went and put the bet on. You made the choice. Calling out referees and all this kind of stuff is kind of like, dude, this is on you. Like be a better. If you're a better, this wouldn't be happening. That's what I say to people.
I don't know. I think if it's just, I don't know if you guys, but I know when I was much younger, I used to take losses far but more worse or badly than I do now. Now I'm far more okay. That one's lost. Next one up, right? But previously, I don't know if it was my youth or whatever, or I was a bad better, but I used to take losses much worse than I do now.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I just go and I look at my record and I say, look, I've made 1,000 plays. This is just one. It's one and 1 out of 1,000. It's just another one. Just move on. Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next game. I'm quite liking eyeing this game out. Lions back at home against the Benetton. Obviously, we don't have points, but I like this. I think I like the Lions in the spot. I know Benetton are decent. I know the Lions have been atrocious away from home. But I think when they come back to URC Park against a team like this, they're going to be in their bonnets and they run these teams ragged. And these Lions obviously always give you opportunity. So I don't. The point Lions aren't out, but I'll be eyeing the points out here. And I actually think Lions can cover this, but I'm going to wait for points. But either saying that, Admiral, what do you think here?
Yeah, there are a few more dangerous teams in the world than the Lions at 1:30 in Johannesburg against sort of an average team. Like they've had some awful beatings. Even this year and last year. I mean, they had 50 points in Edinburgh at halftime earlier on in the year. I was checking the weather for this, praying it was going to be sunny, and it's not. It looks like there's going to be some pretty.
I didn't look at that. So, yeah, that's a big deal. So I retract that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. If it's sort of summer Joburg weather, I'd be on the minus. I'd be on most. I think anything in the 50s is probably an easy enough bet. I still think you can take a play on the Lions here. Now, that's before the teams come out. I would like to see if they're full strength. I think with Benetton, I think are overrated compared to their league position. They have 4 games left and 3 of them are away, and they are a home team. Benetton, so they have 2 games in South Africa. They've got Glasgow at home, and then they've got to go to Thomond Park. So I think they're 9th or 8th, maybe. I don't see them making the playoffs. I mean, it's sort of hard to talk about this before you see the teams.
I agree.
Is there going to be a full Benetton team? But if I had to play a side at the moment, I would take the Lions on a minus.
Yeah, and again, also when it comes to the high-fault weather, Loftus hasn't burned me. I've managed to still pull my points at Loftus, but Ellis Park, when it's rainy, the Lions can get into a slugfest there. I've noticed. So yeah, if Ellis Park is wet, I'm out. So yeah, if there's anything like that, Nathan, you got any views on this one?
Nothing strong. I projected something right around this number, but it's in the absence of team sheets, and I don't know why. But Benetton have just not put a team out, unless I've missed something and they are not playing. Because I thought this game was at the same time as the Sharks game, and those teams
I think it's Saturday midday for us.
Right. Yeah.
I thought tomorrow there's only one URC. Am I right? I thought did I get that right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's actually that would explain it. Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, and this is obviously just based on the previous teams that they rolled out, which in Benetton's case was pretty full strength. It was right around this number. So I'm not probably won't be involved in this one.
Yeah, fair enough. And on to the best team in the world, the mighty Stormers. That's quite a high cap for the Stormers as well. Obviously, Connacht coming off they did beat Racing last week. Yeah, coming off a nice result last week, but they didn't win. No, I get that wrong. Sorry.
Typical Connacht.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and Stormers, I mean, I like Stormers. They've been good to me at home, even though the last 2 years they haven't been as good. But, against a team like Connacht, I think, again, team sheets, if they've got their playmakers in the back line, they're a different kettle of fish. But that's still very high cap. I mean, as me just traditionally, just like my style of betting, I hardly ever go for a high double minus handicap in general, unless it's a proper mismatch. But that feels high. But I think, with the relaying of the Cape Town pitch last season is you are seeing more points than previously. So I'll be looking at points, but the points lines obviously aren't out. But anyway, Nathan, do you have any views on this one?
I do, yeah. I mean, assuming that Connacht come out with a team that is as weak as what I think it will be, because there was talk about all the players that they've not brought over. And it was a fairly lengthy list of anybody who's half decent for them that I would actually look to be on the Stormers, assuming that the Stormers actually roll out their full strength team. Like a lot of these times, it kind of shows the intent of the team. It's and if Connacht are kind of tuning up with zero expectation of taking anything out of this, there might be a few business decisions made, at certain points in the game, and this one could get out of hand.
Yeah, this has the Sale game earlier in the season. Like I think the cap was I think it was double digits even in that time, and I thought it was too crazy high. And Stormers put 40 donuts on and 40. This feels like this game could go that type of way. What do you think, Admiral?
Yeah, Connacht. I mean, so they've their 2 games here in South Africa, and they've got Edinburgh away, I think, and Zebra at home, or maybe it's the other way around to finish up. But I mean, their season is probably over here. I think they've got the Bulls next week. Oh no, maybe not the Bulls. They've got another South African team next week. Their coach sort of unexpectedly left with immediate effect on Monday. They've sent out, I mean, I don't have the list at hand, but I mean, the Irish Connacht players, I mean, the Irish internationals aren't playing, so no Bundy, no Mack, no Finlay Beale, and then some of their better players aren't in this squad. I mean, once they lost against Racing last week. Racing, who I'm not sure hugely cared about the game, got a red card 20 minutes in, and kind of went into a pretty, I think, a 2-score lead maybe, or some sort of lead, and then they just fell apart, as they do. So yeah, this all just feels like it feels like they're waiting for next season to begin, unless they get some sort of miracle. The Stormers, I think, are really trending the right direction. It's not a coincidence that started since Sasha has been back. I think he's something else. So if the Stormers are playing a full strength team, you would want to be pretty insane, or from Galway to be on the plus. I think I'll probably be on the minus. Or Stormers points if you give me anything under 40 even, I think I'd probably be looking at this, assuming the weather's good. Actually, I don't know what it is like, but this will probably be a Stormers play of some sort.
Yeah, the more you're talking about the teams, like I think if you look at Stormers' log position, they're just under the playoffs. They got this home run coming. Yeah, Connacht coming with a weaker team, demoralized. This has got a hammering written all over it, and now I'm actually starting to. This is becoming a strong play for me as well. Not with the emotions, Nathan. Yeah, this looks like a mismatch. Yeah, and I would think Stormers is most definitely the right bet for sure. All right, so we got the next one, Munster Bulls. Oh, this is scary as heck as well. Yeah, I won't have much views on you, but Admiral, what have you got? Any?
Munster are doing that annoying thing they do as an Leinster fan, and that they start getting a little bit better around now, and they do it all the time. And I mean, it won them URC a couple of years ago. I think that is beginning to happen a little bit. They went to Connacht with their sort of full strength team, and that game meant quite a lot to Connacht. And their season wasn't over at that stage, and they won pretty. I mean, I think the scoreline didn't really show, but I think Munster were the better team there. Won away in La Rochelle, and I think gave a decent showing of themselves against Bordeaux last week. They did lose comfortably. I think Bordeaux were hot that day, and when Bordeaux were like that, there's just not much you can do about it. But they still gave themselves an outside chance of winning that game in the last minute. Now it was a big outside chance. I do like the way Munster are going. This is their first game at Thomond Park for almost 2 months, I think. We haven't sort of seen their full strength team in Limerick for a while. So I am going to lean Munster here. The Bulls are on sort of a long road trip at the moment, and they've got to go to Glasgow next week or something. So they won't be holding back here, but like they might have that in mind a little bit. They just come off a bad result against Edinburgh, and Munster were sort of. I think Munster knew they were going to lose last week, but they're sort of gearing themselves up for this run, and so I'd be on the -4 here.
Yeah, I agree. This has got to feels like a Bulls don't arrive feeling about it as well. I agree. Munster arrive, Bulls don't. So it could be a long day for the Bulls. What do you think, Nathan? Got any strong views? Yeah.
Nothing strong. I think it'll depend on the team. Whether the Bulls arrive, probably you'll know from the team selection. And I think, like I'm leaning Bulls, but there's just not enough points on the plus for this to kind of make sense. I'd almost feel like if it was like an alt line play that I would sort of take the Bulls, plus I don't know 10 or something like that, and that would feel like a good bet. Sometimes it's one of these ones. If you move the line 3 points in either direction, and then ask yourself which one did you like more, and that kind of tells you which side that you would be on. So yeah, I think if the Bulls bring out the full strength team, I think Fareed sort of mentioned there about them kind of strangling teams and this being a grind, and that's the kind of game I could see this being. And low scoring, grinding, and in general with those games you like the plus, but it's just not a big enough plus, so it's probably one that I'd actually stay away from.
Yeah, agree. All right, moving on to classic Welsh derby. Dragons at home getting 6 points. Nathan, got any thoughts here?
Again, probably a team sheet one, but Scarlets. I think I'd lean Scarlets at the current number. I think the Dragons are adrift at the bottom of the table for a reason. The Scarlets have been one of the better teams to back, actually. I think they're kind of sneaky underrated. Certainly when I look at, as I said, the kind of model results, backing Scarlets has been a profitable exercise, basically.
I agree.
So
they've been a lot more solid than previous seasons, haven't they?
They have, yeah. And I think this is kind of a spot. I know people talk about the Welsh derbies and or any derby really, and it'll be tight, but I don't know that that necessarily that the data actually backs that up. So yeah, I would take the Scarlets.
Yeah, well, the Dragons I think 4 games nearly dropped their pub team tag, but that's not going to happen, is it? Is it, Admiral? What do you think? Do they have a chance?
I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna help you make your mind up here. This is a neutral ground game. This is is Judgment Day.
Okay.
I think it's in the Millennium, or the Prince of Adelaide, whatever you want to call it. Both of the Welsh games are. The other game, which isn't being priced up for some reason. I do like the Scarlets here. I think it started at 5, so a little bit of money. I'd imagine they'll both be full strength. I'm not sure if Sam Costello, the Scarlets 10, is back from injury. But to be honest, even if he isn't, I agree with Nathan. I think the Scarlets are a little bit underrated, and I'll probably be on. I mean, the Dragons. It's hard to tell, but I think the Dragons might be the worst professional team of the big 4 leagues. And the Dragons Newcastle will be so much anyway. It certainly isn't one of the French teams, and not one of the Super Rugby teams. They're really bad. They're worse than they were last year. They're not a good team at all. And at home, they may be able to keep some sort of below average teams close. But this is, I'd assume the Scarlets will be better supported. It's a bigger rugby place. I don't know, to be honest. But it's a neutral ground game. So yeah, I'd take the Scarlets on the minus here.
So what would you make that home difference in home ground advantage?
As in how much does the
is that something that you kind of factor in? I don't really know much about your process. So what would it look like, do you think, typically?
If this was in Newport, I think I would have it like as this, maybe 7. It does depend on the competition. Super Rugby, I know in my head it's normally 3 or 4. I think it does matter less. I don't know if they're maybe more used to it. The grounds are a bit bigger. They tend to be a little bit more empty, so the atmosphere maybe isn't as big. I'm not sure what it is for URC. Obviously, it depends. South Africa makes is a big difference. For these games, I'd have it about 5 or 6 for a general rule, and then France is 9, 10. So yeah, I think the Scarlets are a far better team. This could be double digits. Would be even 10, 11, 12. I think if this if this was a neutral ground game, which it is for me. So yeah, I'd be on the Scarlets here.
Scarlets are they in a still the shots at the playoffs? No,
I think so. Yeah, but
Yeah,
pretty much every team is.
Kind of everybody is. Maybe
there's that massive log jam around the.
They're 3 points off to top 8.
Well then it's going to be a long day for the Dragons. I agree with you there.
And I would point it. They have Leinster next at home, but so I think they can probably chalk that one up as a loss next week. So so I think everything points towards Scarlets here.
Yeah, agree. All right, Nathan, did I come to you on that one? I did, hey? Yeah, sure. All right, well that leads us into the second best team in the comp. Joking. No, obviously Leinster, Ulster. I mean, this fixture, I love this fixture. I've stopped and watched this one for ages. I'm heartbroken that this is the cap because Ulster aren't anywhere near the team they used to be. I haven't seen the team sheets, but this I hate this cap, but I'm still going to watch this game because I love these teams going at it. But 17 is a high cap. I will lead that straight into you, Admiral, as a Leinster fan, and we're in the top there. Is this cap right, or what we're thinking?
It is actually a Blues jersey. I don't own a Leinster jersey for me.
Oh, sorry, man. Sorry. Yeah. What is it? A Cardiff?
It's a Blues jersey.
Auckland Blues.
Sorry, yeah. I'll take that. But I apologize, mate.
It's unclear what sort of team we're going to put out this week. But I don't think it'll be a complete B team. I think so. The way the fixtures work, we have, as I said, the Scarlets next week, and then I think we're into the semi-final and afterwards against Northampton. So
I think there might be 2 games. So there'll be this week, the week after, and then the semi-final.
Semi-final, yeah. So I highly doubt we're going to play a full strength. Oh, sorry, lights gone off here. 1 second.
Are you in South Africa?
Load shedding.
Are you in South Africa,
I think it makes sense to sort of play not the full team, but close to it this week. Send the B team out next week, so the starters get a rest. So I can imagine you'll see a pretty good team. I don't know, but my guess would be sort of maybe between 50 and 80% of the team from last week will play. With that in mind, it would be hard to take the plus, but I think I said it. This will be the third time I said it. Ulster unders. If Leinster have anything near their full strength team out, teams just cannot score. I mean, they won't be nilled, I would think, as the other two have. But I think you'll probably get a 16 or a 17, maybe a 15 on Ulster points here. And if you've got most of them out, Ringrose, I think, might be the main one to look out for. I think he's the most important defensive player we have, which Rico Ioane might have something to say about soon, but that's another topic. I think if you can get over 2 scores on Ulster points, you take unders, assuming that it's a pretty good team out.
Just on that note, though, Admiral, who is your team? I have to put that straight now.
Oh, it's Leinster.
Is it Leinster?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, good. Okay, got the jersey around, but got the team right. Okay, good. Yeah. All right, Nathan and yourself, what's your thoughts here?
No, not really a lot to add to that. I think if it was the B team, the line would be 10. If it's the kind of that kind of B plus team, it's probably 15, and it's 20 plus if it's full strength. So it's kind of like this is somewhere in the middle, and you really need to see what kind of team's going to get rolled out.
Yeah, I just want to send as Admiral, as a Leinster fan, how are you feeling about this form? Is it scary being so dominant running into the big time, or is this the real deal, right? We've seen this script before, haven't we?
I need people to stop talking about it. God, we've been here before. We haven't been this good before. In the last couple of years, but
I can only imagine how you're feeling, man. Honestly, if
I
it
have
doesn't happen for you now, I don't
yeah,
know what.
I
Might
have
as well
some
give it
friends
all
who
up,
have
eh?
booked flights to Cardiff, which I think is completely unacceptable. I know we'll probably beat Northampton, but I mean,
Yeah.
the one thing I would point out is if Leinster keep them out for 12 minutes, it will be 200 minutes since someone scored a point against
That's
Leinster,
amazing.
which
Yeah.
I'd assume would be some sort of professional record. Yeah, I mean, Jack Nabber. I mean, we've had a good team always for the last 15 years, but I think the coaching is really what's and the foreigners we have, Barrett and Stein, but Jack Nabber's done an incredible job. I mean, the defense is just. I mean, we lost last year in the final to Toulouse, but we conceded I think 15 points in 80 minutes against Toulouse, which is they played well that game, which it was sort of. It was some feat. So yeah, I mean, if we could win something, honestly, anything would be good.
We'll say it quietly. It's your
Yeah.
We'll say it quietly.
I was going to say, what do they do with James Lowe between these big games? Do they put him in a cryo chamber and freeze him, or is he in
I think
carbonite like Han Solo in Star Wars? Because he just it's hilarious how he just never plays. He's like the the expensive car that you only roll out every once in a while because the weather's good or whatever, and you don't want to drive it on normal roads because it might get dinged up or something. It's just it's funny.
There's a fair bit of that. I mean, when you have a squad as big as we do, which you could maybe argue is unfair. I don't care, to be honest. But if you were, I think it probably is a little bit unfair. But yeah, you can't afford to do that with your Snymans and your Lows. Keep them away. I get nervous around this time of year. It's been happening too much and too often. So fingers crossed this is the year.
I know we're going slightly off topic here, but Brent's written your Admiral. How good was the Masters? Rory made us sweat, but delivered in the end, eh?
Yeah,
didn't he for all of us? I didn't have a bet on him, but man, I wanted that guy to pull through, eh? Yo.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen many days of sport like that. It was. I had a bit of money on Rory, not anything like to be hugely excited about, but I really wanted him to win. It was pretty close.
I think that the last time I was that excited was when Tiger won his last Masters. That type of feeling, just willing one to do it, and just it was amazing. Yeah. Anyway, let's just get back to rugby and not the last. I think it's the last fixture. Zebra versus Glasgow, another classic. Nathan, you got any thoughts here?
Look, Glasgow. That's again highly team dependent, but I'd imagine they'll be licking their wounds a little bit and kind of keen to get back to business as usual for themselves. So assuming they roll out a half decent team, I think they'd probably be pretty keen to make a statement.
Yeah. I didn't see last week coming, even though Leinster amazing. That was but okay. They were missing players, but I thought they still had enough in the tank there to give them a go. And I think this is a bad spot for Zebra to run into Glasgow this weekend. And Admiral, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if the team is even a little bit better than last week, I mean, in selection wise, I think I'll be on a Glasgow in some sort of play here. I don't think there's much more to add to that. I think it will find out at 12 o'clock for me tomorrow. I'm not sure what time it is in New Zealand, but I'd imagine this will be a Glasgow minus.
Yeah, I also think so. I believe that's the last fixture. I don't know if it was on a Sunday. I was to make sure that is it.
There's Ospreys Cardiff if you're really desperate to talk about that.
Yeah, I didn't. We can. I don't know if I saw it. Well, I'm not. Do you guys have any? Like you said, it's not priced up, right? I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know why.
See it. Don't know if you guys want to share anything on that game. Got any thoughts? Any strong views or?
I haven't liked backing Cardiff this year. That's not been a good thing to do.
You say it's at the Principality, right? The two Welsh double headers.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You would be favourites there. Maybe Ospreys by a couple. I would think maybe.
Yeah, I think the Ospreys are a pretty good team. similar to the Scarlets, a bit underrated. So yeah, if it's a pick 'em, I'll be all over the Ospreys.
Same. Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of URC. I don't know if you guys follow the Premiership. I actually have one chat I saw tomorrow night, just when I was preparing for the show. Newcastle plus 12 against a changed Saints team looks pretty high. There's not a strong punt, but that's something that just stuck out to me. Newcastle pretty much the same team that's run a few decent teams that are close. At home on a Friday night to Newcastle's never easy. I think that's a standout high to bet if anyone's interested. So it's just that's just what's stand up. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on the Premiership. You want to go talk about a game or anything?
I was the same. It was plus 17 when the teams came out. So I'm on that.
Yeah, well, that would have been one of my best bets of the week.
I took plus 16. Yeah, and I kind of did it. I kind of did it blind, like in the sense that
you had to.
I didn't have time to run any numbers on it and see if it added up. But I looked at the Northampton team and I was kind of like, like they've clearly rotated pretty heavily, and it's not a bet that I love just because backing Newcastle has not been good. So even with high caps, the problem with you and obviously maybe this game's the exception, but even with high caps with Newcastle, you get involved and they get blown out by 40. Like it's it's been quite a high variance, I'd say.
Yeah, but I think also I'm just going. I mean, I love the Saints. They've done me well the last 2 seasons, but when they are changed, they just do seem to lack a lot. When Finn Smith's not playing and Mitchell and when they have the band together, as we like to say, right? When the band's not together, and when Newcastle have their B and their bonnet at home, yes, I agree they can, but they've just showed enough, and that's why even at 12, I don't think 9's about the max I would go to, but I would still be playing at 13. I think Saints don't run away with it. That's just with it on the team sheet.
The one thing I would say is the Mitchell, Smith, Augustus, amongst others, are on the bench. So if I don't like first half caps, so I just took the full plus. But I think first half Newcastle to win the first half for something like that's probably still a good bet, because you imagine Northampton will be better in the second half.
Yeah, that's true. Just looking, some comments have come through since I mentioned Premiership, because I know we don't always go through them, but Saints bench strong, like you just mentioned, so that definitely we have to take that into account. Northampton more second team, yeah, that's why we know that this stood out. Newcastle crap by playing second team. We've also mentioned that we play in the number. Yeah, that number was just sometimes numbers you have to play the number as it's not a shame doing that. We're all punters. We know in our guts if we see a number that's wrong, probably wrong. We have to play it. I saw a comment on Bath. Yeah, Bath and Bristol's over to cover. So Fareed just said, yeah, I like Bath and Bristol to cover. So yeah, that does bring us to the end of the show. Obviously on to best bets. I'll start with you, Admiral. Give us a shout on your best standouts for the weekend.
Yeah, for the Super Rugby, I don't think it's a week full of value at the moment, but Brumbies would be my best bet on the minus against Moana. For the URC, I've written it down here. I have loads of ifs. I mean, if you ask me tomorrow, I'll be able to tell you. But Ulster unders if Leinster have a full team, Glasgow minus if they play a full team. So there's a couple of them. There was one I was having a look at some of the Super Rugby outrights. Brumbies to be the highest finishing Australian team is 2.7, and I think they have a handy enough run in fixture wise. The Reds are also 2.7, but their fixtures are considerably harder. I mean, I think they have to go away to they have to go away to Canberra, away to the Waratahs, away to Fiji, amongst a couple others. I think the Brumbies. I mean, you could probably argue the Brumbies are now the better team.
That's a great shot. All things considered, you would still think Brumbies would still do it. So that's a great shot, even if there's that variance on the fixture. So excellent call out there. I think worth putting some money on there. So we've got the Brumbies on the weekend and Brumbies for the outright or top Australian. Nice. Nathan, what you got for us?
Yeah, I tend to agree that I think a lot of the value in the handicaps for Super probably been eroded, but I still like the unders in that Moana Brumbies game. for various reasons, including weather. The more I think about that Drua Waratahs game, I wonder whether the way to get at this might be Waratahs overs on points, which I think is about 24.5. So I quite like that one. And then, I think the Stormers on the minus. As I said, I think that one looks like it. That one could be over by halftime. So
I'd add that to mine.
Yeah, no, Stormers is mine now. It's one of mine as well, for sure, since the show. I still like the Waratahs. I still like it to go over 56. I like that number, 56 games again, capped at 60. I would have capped this game at 60, 61 possibly. So I like that 56. And I actually think I like that Scarlets putting those Dragons away. I think that could be quite a nice sneaky bet. Well, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been great filling for Brent. I really do enjoy even hosting, being on the other side of the fence. It's quite fun, and I really enjoy chatting with you guys. And obviously, everyone in the chat, I've seen we had a really nice turnout today. Sorry I haven't been able to get you too involved. Otherwise, I get a bit lost and might be pushing the wrong buttons. Yes, I do apologize. I try to show your comments, but thank you guys. You've been great as well, contributing. Appreciate it as always. Yeah, and hopefully, have a great sporting and punting weekend and have a good one. And see you guys next time. Take it easy. Cheers.
Cheers.